This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for, and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads, and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae.
And this is our house. Welcome to the House of Hockey podcast, episode 126. I'm one of your hosts, Breezy.
And I'm your other host, Rae. We have a lot to talk about.
We do. But first, I don't know why I'm doing this first, but this is my favorite part of the season. And I think it's because it's not super serious, but it's starting to get a little serious because it's November, I love looking at the top 10 teams in the league.
Yeah.
And it just kind of blows my mind. So we have Boston, Vegas, New Jersey, the Kings, Islanders, Canes, the Leafs, Seattle Kraken, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Colorado Avalanche. Top 10.
How did the Kraken sneak in there?
How did the Devils sneak in there?
Yeah, that's a talking point.
And the Kings, number 4. Whoa.
And the irony is that this list will change at the midway point, by All-Star break. It will be completely different. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
I don't think this list will stay.
Well, when I looked at it a couple of days ago, I was I want to bring this up this week. So I was looking at it a couple of weeks ago, and I was whoa, what's happening? The Leafs, I don't think were on there. I think somebody else was up there. And I couldn't remember now because it changes so often, but I'm sitting there and I'm I'm just going to bring it up today and we'll see how it changes once this episode comes out in 2 days. But
yeah, that too.
Wild.
It's nuts. Let's talk about the Devils for a second. The fact that they're even on that list, I don't think anybody thought they would be on that list.
No.
At this point, they're on a 9-game win streak. What? Their record is 12-3. And just last night, their fans were now chanting, "Sorry, Lindy," to the coach, because a couple games ago, they were chanting, "Fire Lindy, fire the coach." And now they're "Sorry, just kidding." But is this going to last? I think we talked about this before. Are any of these streaks going to last through the seasons? Are the Devils going to stay on top of the division, even in the league? I don't know. I'm going to have to tune in specifically this week to a Devils game and just see what the hell is going on there. Cause I haven't obviously watched a Devils game, and they don't get TNT primetime or ESPN games. So, maybe they will, but I'm going to have to go watch a game and sort of assess what's happening. Cause I can't believe this.
I think they play today, maybe on Sunday.
Yeah, I think maybe.
I don't know. We'll see, but I definitely want to. I need to look at it too, because I'm what is happening? Also, Seattle, what is happening? Not that they're bad, but I'm now I gotta watch them because what's going on? Considering I can't watch any Kings games. Yeah,
up at the top. I don't think anybody thought they'd come out the gate like this. And I'm going to go see them next week, so we'll see. They're always solid, but they're way at the top.
Yeah. Also, I sent you that video of the players talking about top 10 or top 8 arenas or whatever, whatever that was. I rewatched it. I sent it to you because I found it again. I rewatched it and I have to correct myself. They said that a Saturday matinee game at the Garden is the craziest.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well.
Corrected. But you're still going to have a crazy good time. So.
Yeah. That's pretty insane, the top 10 at this point. The Oilers aren't up there? Did you say the Oilers
are there?
Yeah, they are up
there.
They're
there.
Right.
Yeah.
The Avs are at the bottom, but I think that's a good place for the Avs to be. Coming off of a cup win, I wouldn't want to be first in the league. Of course they're not going to be. And that gives them a healthy spot to be at, to maintain throughout the season, to try to make another run. So we'll see what's happening there.
I guess the more interesting thing too would be the bottom.
Yeah.
So Anaheim is
Read
at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Anaheim, then Columbus, then St. Louis,
I
then
know.
San Jose, then the Canucks, then the Ottawa Senators, which we had high hopes for this season.
I know.
And then the Preds, because the Preds cannot get it together. Arizona, Buffalo, Calgary, and then Pittsburgh. And then your Chicago Blackhawks, and then Minnesota, then Tampa, then Washington. I guess I'm just going to go all the way up. No,
that's like middle road kind of happening there. So yeah, the Blues, I'm shocked they're so far down right now, but they've had, since they won the cup, they're all over the place. You know what I mean? Like they're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. Binner's in, Binner's out. He's playing well, he's not. John Hamm is showing up to games. Like, what's going on? Like John Hamm, the actor, huge super fan of the Blues, from St. Louis, or grew up in St. Louis, something like that. And he read the lineup for the boys in the locker room the other night. And it's the most hockey guy read I have ever heard or seen thus far, of a guest reading the lineup in the locker room. Like all funny. There was a bunch of dads trips this weekend. And so they had like the dads reading the lineup, but they were just reading like at, right wing,
right.
John Smith. And like, it was kind of boring. But John Hamm just like blew in there and called them all by their nicknames, had every slang hockey term you could ever think of. And like, I was like, who's starting? I don't even know who that is. Like, who is that person? Like, the nicknames were all over the map, and it was super great. And then he just turned around and walked out, like fist bumped JB, which is Jordan Binnington, apparently. It's like, JB in net, behind the pads, blocking the pads or something. I don't know what he said, but it was such like hockey bro talk. It was amazing.
That's funny.
He's amazing.
That's pretty good. I do want to say though, and when we talked about the Central a few episodes back on some changes that they made, David Perron, love him or hate him, he's kind of on the fence for me. It's like he's good, but like he's kind of like gritty, right? So he was on the Blues when they did really well. When he was on Anaheim, and Anaheim was doing really well. Now he just went to Detroit, and it seems like every team he's on, I know it's not a team, like a one-man team kind of sport, but it seems like every team he's on, they tend to excel. And Detroit is 14th in the league right now, which
good spot to be.
Pretty good for them. Obviously, Detroit had made multiple changes this season, but I would be curious to see like what kind of presence he brings to the room, because it seems like every team he's on, they seem to do well. And I happen to think that he's a huge part of that.
Yeah, he's definitely a leader, veteran in this sport, and definitely has a presence.
Yeah.
You know what that reminds me of? I was just listening to the Marian Hossa interview that Chicklets did, because he's got his book just came out. 3 times Chicago Blackhawks Stanley Cup champion. And
there's always that Blackhawks fan.
There's always that Blackhawks fan. But it was interesting hearing him speak about he specifically wanted to go to Detroit. Speaking of Detroit, he wanted to go and learn from that Stanley Cup winning team with like Chelios and all of them when they were winning. And he turned down these like huge contracts just to go there to learn how, like, what were they doing differently than anybody else to have this like magic. And it was so interesting to hear a player say that in such a way. Like, I specifically wanted to go to this team because I wanted to learn from them, not because of any other reason. No money, no nothing. And I just don't know that we hear a lot of that. And I don't know that I've heard that before. And I just thought that was really interesting and really smart. And he's always kind of been like that when he talked through his career of why he chose to go certain places and how hard he works in his mentality to be the best and to improve his game. And so that's really like in him. I don't know if that's in everybody's mind or what. I mean, everybody has a different sort of perspective. Like they go for the money or the big contract and the safety and those kinds of things. But he was like, no, I'm going. I don't care. I'm going.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
That's super smart. And it's funny because I was just talking about how like learning from people that are being successful. I'm going to bring it up because I know that you are a huge Carrie Underwood fan, but
yeah,
she put out a new album a little bit ago, and the CMAs are just this past week, and she performed one of her new songs that's going to be on the radio, which just so happens to be one of my favorite songs on her new album. And I was like, I don't know why I love this song so much, but I think it's just because it's like kind of rockery, like it's got like the guitars and stuff in it, which I really enjoy.
yeah.
And she did an interview, and she said that that Hardy, I don't know if you know who Hardy is, but he's like
No.
you should definitely know him. He's probably one of the best songwriters in the business right now.
Okay.
Best friends with Morgan Wallen and Ernest, so they have this thing. He did this crazy good song with Lainey Wilson. It's almost kind of like
Is that the in the truck, stay in the
yep.
truck song? Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of like Fancy a little bit, good old Reba,
Yeah.
you know. But Carrie had said that she knew his name's Michael Hardy, but he just goes by Hardy. She goes, I knew Hardy was killing it in the game, and I didn't know what he was doing. So she goes, so I had to figure it out. So I booked a session with him. And she goes, and Hate My Heart came out because Michael Hardy wrote it. So it's super smart to learn from people that are doing well, and maybe just taking that risk and kind of putting yourself into a position to like be in the same room with someone, because you don't know what you're going to learn. So I guess that both of those stories kind of tie together, but it kind of makes you think a little bit, because it's like, okay, well, who can I go hang out with just to hang out with them, not to like get anything, but I probably would get something just hanging out with them.
Just to learn how their process works and what they do to make them so good. Yeah, for sure. There's, and I also find it interesting that most people who are in a super successful place, I would say most of them, they're all very willing to share their secrets. Like, because they probably learned those things the hard way or through a lot of different things, and to be able to share it with somebody else so they don't have to endure that is probably pretty common. I mean, I know like David Meltzer, he's like a business guy. He's so willing to share his tips and tricks. And it's like, you can share all those things, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to put them into action and actually do the work, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But most people are pretty willing to help. And I've heard, and I think a lot of people have heard this too, but the owner of the Mavericks, Mark Cuban, he is notorious for just handing out his email, and he replies to every single email. Even if it's like a one-word answer, yes or no, he replies. Like, he's very hands-on like that. So if there's somebody you want to learn something from, reach out to them.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. What does hurt though is that Trevor Zegras scored another Michigan, but it didn't count. And that could hurt people in a few different ways, because a lot of people hate the Michigan. But I think it's pretty cool. He scored a beauty of a goal, but I think somebody was offsides or something like that. So the goal was called back, or too many men, something like that. And then something else that actually physically hurts is what happened to Evander Kane.
That was so bad.
I know.
I was cringing. Oh, don't do that. I don't like the sound of that.
Okay. Neither does Antoni. She's like, you make me want to throw up when I do that. Or somebody said that to me.
I'm terrified of vomit. Yeah.
Okay. So
anything having to do with it, I'm just like, stop.
Okay. I was watching that game. I saw that moment when Evander Kane, when Maroon's blade went over his wrist. But it happened so fast that you couldn't see it like in the action. I didn't see it right away. But then I saw him get up, and he like got up, put his pressure on his hand, and was screaming and running, like skating to the bench. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I was on the phone with a girlfriend and she was talking about whatever, but I had the game on and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? She's like, huh? I'm like, sorry, I'm watching hockey while we're talking, but it's on mute. So it's not a team I care about, but you know, I'm multitasking here. It was insane. And then to see that he had to have like arteries replaced, like they had to take arteries from his upper part of his arm and put it back together. And it went to a vein, went down to the bone. I was like, oh my God,
because
I can't
they're
even.
like, yeah, you didn't like, like cut any arteries. And he's like, oh no, I cut everything, tendons, arteries, everything down to the bone. They actually had to take veins from up top and like reconnect it down. And I'm like, oh my God, like I got like a little like wheezy.
Yeah, it's a very serious injury. Like you could lose your hand if not treated immediately. And then I realized why it was like so alarming to me and like hit really close to home, because I had a similar style injury that occurred in a very different way, not on the ice with a skate, but that same thing happened to me, except I missed arteries, but I caught all the nerves in my wrist from a wine glass. I worked in a restaurant and I was cleaning the wine glass and the stem broke and it went through my wrist and through my hand. And I just heard glass shatter and I didn't feel anything because it cut the nerves. It cut right through the nerves. So it didn't hurt. And I was like, what has happened? Did I break a glass? And I looked down at my wrist, like I'm sure Evander Kane did. And you just see all of the insides of your body and it freaks you out. But I did the same thing. I took the cloth in my hand, slapped it on my arm, pressure elevate, and I went running through the restaurant just like Evander Kane. And I was like, call an ambulance. Somebody call 911, call an ambulance. I cut my wrist, because it was like, I didn't know if I cut an artery. Luckily I didn't, but he did. And that's a serious thing. Something else that happened, a full-on 6-minute brawl happened between a lot of Tampa Bay stuff happening. Lightning making headlines, baby. This is not a Lightning podcast, everybody, but the Lightning and the Capitals faced off, and there was a whole kerfluffle with the whole team. This like thing lasted for 6 minutes because Aube Kubel, I was practicing. He full on head checked Calfoot on the Lightning, and the guy went down, and it was a super gnarly hit. And while they were assessing the penalty, Maroon got into it with Hathaway, and a full on fisticuff fight broke out. And the funniest part about this fight is that Pat Maroon's hair is in front of his face, and he looks like Cousin Ed from the Addams Family. And he like can't even see, and he's like are yelling and fighting, but he looks like, all I could think is he looks like Cousin It. But he's trying to be tough and stuff, but because his hair's all sweaty, it's like all down in front of his face and the gel's worn out and it's not slick backed anymore. And like
it probably looks just like the freaking Undertaker too. Cousin
like
It
that
or the
too.
Undertaker. You got to do a side by side. You got to do him in the middle.
It's like, okay, yeah, you're a tough man. But anyway, it was a whole thing. Like both teams were going at it, and it was a pretty tough game. But I think Foot's going to be okay. So,
oh, thank God.
I know
there's a lot of injuries going on.
I know
this time of year, and it's scary.
I know you don't like to see it, and I have a crazy injury story to tell you about that I saw last night in the ECHL. So stay tuned, folks. We've got to get through a couple of more little headlines here, and then I'm going to give you a full recap on my first ECHL game experience, which all I kept thinking while I was sitting there, I'll give you a quick little preview, was everything that Joe Cangelosi, former player of the Carolina Thunderbirds in the SPHL, right? SPHL?
Yeah,
federal
FPHL.
Professional Hockey League, formerly whatever. All I kept thinking, I was like, this is just like every single story Joe ever told on our podcast. I'm like, I am living out what they have experienced. I'm literally watching it unfold in front of my eyes, like the ridiculousness of what is happening. So stay tuned for that recap. But Two more things to discuss. There will not be a World Cup of Hockey. The league and the Players Association were trying to come to terms to make that happen, but they just said like a really blanket statement of like, we're not doing that. We can't make that happen right now. We're going to try for 2025. And the last time there was a World Cup of Hockey was in 2016. And that was when all the games were played in Toronto. So I think it's about money, probably. It's about time and Olympics, I would imagine, because we missed Olympics. And I'm sure the players might be, I don't know, maybe there's something with that. Like they've made the agreement to do the Olympics, but then they pulled out because of COVID. And that's just my theory. But how do you feel about there not being a World Cup of Hockey again?
I think it sucks. Yeah, I think it sucks. I think people look forward to it. I think everyone kind of looks forward to it. So I do think it sucks.
This week's episode of the House of Hockey podcast is brought to you by NFL Sundays are only getting better, and so are the incredible offers at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. Check this out. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, place a same game parlay, and combine multiple bets like which team will win, player props, and point totals. With payouts bigger than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook is my go-to when betting on the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN, that's THPN for the Hockey Podcast Network, and place a $5 pre-game moneyline bet to get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Make sure you use code THPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Have you shopped at Pure Hockey? They are America's largest hockey retailer with dozens of stores and the option to shop online. If you or any of your kids play hockey, Pure Hockey is the place to find just about all of your equipment, skates, sticks, gear, bags, jerseys, and accessories. Plus, Pure Hockey is one of our affiliate partners. Next time you break your hockey stick or your kid grows out of his skates, why not check out purehockey.com? While you are looking for hockey equipment, you can also browse around for merchandise from your favorite NHL team, you know who Breezy's and mine are, and make gift giving even easier for your hockey-loving friends and family. And do us a favor, use our special link for purehockey.com when you browse the site and make a purchase, because we'll receive a small commission, which helps me and Breezy create this podcast. Head to the episode's show notes for the special direct link to shop at purehockey.com. How about the dad's weekend? There was also a mom's weekend, though, with the Buffalo Sabres, I think 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
But it was like a big dad's trip weekend for the Rangers, the Blackhawks. And did I see another one? I think that might have been it. I think that might have been it. But they were going hard on social media with the coverage of the dad's trips. And our boy Vince Trocheck did a whole video where he took over the mic, who's now a New York Ranger, Breezy's new team, and interviewed the dads and the players. And he actually did a really good.
It was like hot seat with the Ryans, but with Vince. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, but with me, Vince. He's like, I just took the mic. Okay. Yeah. But it was super cute watching the dads talk about like who's their favorite Rangers player and when did they know
they were growing up. You're like, good kid, solid kid.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you had a lot of energy, but Vince looks just like his dad.
He does.
It was fun to see who looks like who. But more importantly, as I was scrolling through the pictures of the Rangers' dad's trip, they were in Nashville. And they went to Top Golf, And they had a bunch of stills of the dads playing golf. The hottest, most ripped dad I've ever seen in my entire life was on there. And I sent Breezy the picture, like, whose dad is this? Like, that's a DILF. And I need to know. And I'm going to post the picture. And I'm going to need all of you to tell me whose father that is, because he is like super tan. He's so buff, like veins
He's
popping
ripped.
out. And I need to know whose father this is.
Well, I told you whose father it was because it was all in the comments, but
What? No, you didn't. Whose
yes,
father
I
was
did.
it?
Who was it? I'd have to
I
go
thought
back in
you
my
were making
messages.
a joke like Schwarzenegger or something. You said he looks like Schwarzenegger's
I
dad or
did.
something. Okay,
What,
maybe I
what was
just
I
didn't
doing
read
that
it
night?
right. Crazy. Hold on, I've got it.
Sometimes
Oh,
like
I missed it. You did tell me, but you said Paulie D has some competition, and that's all I read.
he
That's all
does
I
have
read.
competition.
I was like, what? That's not the dad. It's Gautier's
Yeah,
dad?
I was like, sometimes I say weird things in DMs and I don't mean it. So what did I say?
Glossier's? How do you say that? Gautier's?
Got
Gautier's?
Gothiers? Maybe I
Gauthier's
don't
dad?
know. Listen, they're my new team. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Hot dad. Very hot dad, everybody. Couldn't
All I gotta
believe my
say
eyes.
is dad's trips in Nashville are wild. And I'm gonna shout out my girl Tracy Starr here because she
Mm-hmm.
knows. Tracy, you got to go look at the dad's trip in Nashville that just happened this past
Yeah.
weekend with the Rangers, and we need to have a little discussion on this
Mm-hmm.
because we
How
know a
does
little
it
bit of the
compare?
inside. How does it
Yeah.
compare to our trip when we hung out with the dads?
Oh,
And
yeah. So good.
yeah,
Anyway, that happened. I was like, whoa. I just wasn't expecting that. And then I forgot there's quite a few young players
mhm.
on the Rangers. So that makes sense. I mean, I guess it's a little stereotypical, but I just was like, "Ooh, oh, hubba hubba, what's
Yeah.
happening here?"
That post was like
Probably,
posted for like 3 seconds, and you had already sent it to me.
it just happened to be up in the feed, I guess, when I was looking at it. But anyway,
Too funny.
um, okay, can I tell you all about the Mariners game?
Just go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay, and then fire questions at me, like rapid fire. So I went to my first ever ECHL hockey game. The Maine Mariners took on the Reading Royals. If you're watching the video, I am wearing a angry blueberry shirt. It's technically
I love it.
a wild blueberry.
For Maine.
And
Okay.
so I guess last season the Mariners did like a what would be a funny alternative if we weren't the Mariners jersey,
Mhm.
and they made full on jerseys like the Maine wild blueberries. Like I saw people in the stands with jerseys that were this like blue color with I call it an angry blueberry with like the crown on it. And I just was like, I have to have that shirt. I don't care if it's like makes no sense. It's ridiculous. And then I was like, wait, I think Breezy's going to want one. I should just get her one and send it to her. But I was like, well, let me see how she reacts. So do you want one of these or no?
I kind of do, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Those are cool.
I'll have to figure out how to get you one because their online store situation is like non-existent and their
Uh,
store is like a pop-up. They just like put tables out. Like it's like a whole thing in
okay.
the ECHL,
Okay.
guys.
Okay.
If you know, you know. I was like, let's go look at this store. And I was like, this store. And they were like, where's the store? I'm like, it's right here. They're like, oh, like a pop-up. That's not really a store. I was like, exactly. It was awesome. We had seats. So it was a girls' night. I took a bunch of girlfriends that I've met over my time here in Maine. And some of them knew hockey, some of them didn't. And it was super fun to just be able to like answer their questions and tell them what to do. And like the biggest rule I gave them was do not get out of your seat until the whistle blows. I was like, it's rule number one. Like, it's a weird rule in hockey, but like, please do not do that. So my one friend, Christine, was like, she like got up. I'm like, sit down. You can't get up yet. She's like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not being a bitch. I promise. It's just like a thing. And I have to teach you guys the right way. She's like,
Yeah.
okay, let me know when I can go. So like, I would wait till a whistle. And then I was like, okay, go, go, go. And she's like, okay, okay. She's like, jumped up. It was pretty hilarious.
That's funny.
So while I was walking from where I parked down to the entrance to meet the girls, I see these guys like jumping, like doing high knees on the street next to the arena. And I'm like, that's not the players. Why would they be outside? Like
Yeah.
warming up outside? Like, don't, like, what? Sure enough, two Mariner players pop the door open, put like something to keep the door propped, and they're doing like high knees up and down the street. And I'm like, do I make eye contact? Do I say like, have a good game, boys? Do I just ignore them? I'm like, what? I'm not sure what's happening here. And why the hell are they warming up on the literally on the streets of Portland doing high knees? There's nowhere inside for them to do this. What is going on? So that was absolutely ridiculous. Then, of course, I saw that one Blackhawks fan who walked in a Blackhawks Patrick Kane jersey. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
That could have been you, but it wasn't.
No, that's rule number 2. You don't wear a jersey of a team that's not playing. Okay. This is ECHL. This isn't even their farm team. What are you doing? I was like this close to going up to her, but she was with a guy, and I was like, let's just keep it together, Rachel. This isn't
I'm
about
really
you.
loving your strong rule number 1.
Rule number 1.
Keep up on that. That's rule number 2.
Rule number 2. Do not do that. Do not wear a jersey of a team that's not playing at the game. The third thing that was really weird was they had the heat on. I was melting. The only time I've ever been to a hockey game where I was sweating. I was sweating my balls off. I told the girls, dress warm. It's cold inside. My one friend Christine brought a goddamn blanket, and it was sweat. She was sweating. It was so hot in there. They did not have the air on. I don't know how the ice stayed cold. It was so flippin' hot.
Oh no.
Peeling layers. Like, what? So that was happening. Then in the first period, one of the players on the Reading Royals, I don't know, it's somewhere in Pennsylvania, they got KO'd right in front of us because we were right like up against the glass. This guy got sideswiped, and he went head down, face down, body planted onto the ice, like tipped over flat like that onto the ice. And we were all like, whoa. And we all thought he was going to get up. He didn't get up. And then the time's going and the time's going and time's going. And we're like, and I'm like, where's the medic? Like, what's happening? It's like, still, he's not moving. He's totally flatlined on the ice. Nobody's coming over. The puck's at the other end of the ice. The guy finally comes out to the ice to check on him. And I'm like, is he going to wake up? Oh my God, is he going to wake up? And the girls are like, is this normal? Does this normally happen? I'm like, no, but you're welcome. I don't know. The guy's alive. So he's like trying to get up. So they woke him up. I probably was smelling salts. They woke him up. The guy's like trying to stand up. They're trying to tell him to stay down. His face is covered in blood. He's got like a cut above his eyebrow. There's blood all over the ice. He's conscious and he's sitting up, but they had to take him off on the stretcher. Couldn't find an injury report anywhere online today. All the recaps of the game, there's no mention of the player. I didn't take note of like what number he was. And also he was like down on the ice. Cannot provide if he is okay or not, but he full on had a concussion. One of the girls in our group is a doctor. We're like, Dr. Heidi, go, get on the ice, because like nobody was out there, and it took the EMTs like a hot minute to get down to the ice. It was absolutely terrifying. I was like, girls, I'm sweating. I really thought something bad happened. That was really scary, like really scary.
Well, we need to find out who it was.
And then the ECHL, I can't go back and watch the games. They don't post the full games on YouTube. And I don't subscribe, and I don't know if I can watch the replays. So I don't know who it was, but it was really, really scary. The last weird thing that happened, wild blueberries, baby. Let's go. So that happened right at the end of the first period. There was like 2 minutes left, and there was like all this chaos. And then the refs were like talking at center ice. And then all of a sudden they just send the boys to the locker room, like like period over. We're like, what happened? Like no announcement, no nothing. So we go into intermission. The boys come back out on the ice. The clock on the Jumbotron is set to the first period with 2 minutes left. Like, what's happening? They took an intermission, came back, played I lost you. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, I thought I went deaf again in my ears.
No.
The clock goes down. They come out, they start the period. It's reset at the first period with 2 minutes left in the game. Like, are they playing the end of the first period at the start of the second period? What's happening? And the girls are like, is this normal? No. They're like, what's going on? I'm like, I have no idea. I have never seen this in my entire life, only in the ECHL. Why are they doing this? I have no flicking clue. I don't know. Like, I know that's not a word. I was like, what is happening? So they did that. And then they ended the period of the first period. They took 60 seconds on the clock to switch ends of the ice. And then they started the second period. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, girls. I don't have an explanation for this. I've never seen this in my life. I don't think this is okay by any standard, but this is what's happening. So,
okay. So was it fun?
Super fun.
Would you go again?
Hell yeah.
Were the tickets affordable?
$30 for fifth row corner ice.
Okay.
With the taxes and fees. So cheap.
Really cheap. How are the fans?
The fans were good. They're Bruins fans because that's part of the Bruins organization. So a lot of Bruins jerseys in there, but the team's pretty good. They're fourth right now in their division. They made the playoffs for the first time last season. So they've got potential. They played like garbage, though. Like they really didn't play well. The only goal they scored was on a power play. And then they just totally blew in the third period. They had the opportunity. They were on the power play again. They were down by 1. They pulled the goalie, so they had 6 men on 4. It was 6 on 4. They turned the puck over, and the other team scored on the empty net. And I was like, "Oh, that's really embarrassing." And then it was over from that point. But I would definitely go again.
Did you get anything to eat or drink?
I had water. The girls had their beers and stuff. They had a variety, not just, Coors Light. I had the popcorn chicken, pretty good concession stand food. They have an in-arena host. They do a couple of games, like Maine trivia. Also, that last night was LL Bean night. It doesn't get any more Maine than this. I got a wild blueberry shirt on, and it's LL Bean night. And they had the Bean Bear, who's like a mascot, I guess, come out and was like on the ice doing stuff. And it was like promoting like outdoor stuff. And they call the penalty box the sin bin. And they have like the cheesiest, like hell pitchfork and like fire sin thing on the screen.
Oh no.
It was so funny. I was like, this is so great. And the girls were like, this is awesome. This is great. They have a mascot, Beacon. He's like a seagull.
Okay.
We were on the Jumbotron. I got us on the Jumbotron. I saw the camera guy. I saw the camera guy. And I was like, wave so we can get on. You got to wave at the camera. And they like popped us up. They were like, we were on. Like, I know.
Oh man, I'm obsessed with the wild blueberries.
I know the wild blueberries are amazing. So yeah,
I love it.
I bought another. I bought another like real Mariners sweatshirt. I'll wear that next week so you can see what that looks like. Because I have to. You know what? I got to support my local team where I live. You got to support the boys. We got to support the sport.
Yeah,
those guys make no money and they bust their ass out there and they love the game. So you got to show the love.
Yeah. And speaking of supporting, just a friendly reminder to watch the women's hockey this Friday, the 18th. You can see the Boston Pride versus the Minnesota Whitecaps and the Toronto Six versus the Riveteers, but I don't know where the Riveteers are from.
Is it
Give me a
the
second.
Riveters or the Riveteers?
Riveters. Sorry, I keep saying
It's
Riveteers. I
okay.
feel like
I've called
Riveters.
them wrong.
Metropolitan.
I've called them wrong. I called them the river. What is it? Riveters?
Riveters. Riveters? Yeah, Riveters. Metropolitan Riveters.
Okay.
So they're on this Friday. Tune in. That was a
Yeah.
reminder.
Give them a
Talked about
watch.
it last week. We're going to watch it this week.
Yeah. Even a period. Just put on a period and watch.
Just anything helps.
Anything helps.
Anything helps. We'll do a little bell call on Friday to remind you guys.
Yeah. A little bell call. What else? Their goal scores.
Anything helps. You know, the little holiday season with little bells. Anything helps.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, it's not funny anymore. I had to explain it like 5 times.
Sorry. A lot happened. It was very minor league and it was epic and it was everything. Like it
I
was
think
so
you
good.
have been more excited about this game than like any like going to even like the Lightning Islanders game.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
It was just exciting to bring people and to not have to go to a game by myself for the first time in who knows how long. Tell everybody about our website.
We just launched our first ever website. You can find us at houseofhockeypod.com. Pretty standard cool site. You can find all of our episodes there, watch our YouTube video, just like our little highlight reel. We'll probably be posting some more information on there, like when we have any lives with Stadium Scene TV. What else we have on there? We're going to get some merch that we'll link up there pretty soon. We're working on it right now.
Hot ideas coming down the pike. Hotter than the wild blueberry on my shirt.
I don't know. That one's pretty tough to beat, but I've been concepting a lot. I just showed Ray some designs I created this past week. So we're going to work on them and hopefully get those linked up here shortly. We'll probably be going, just for fans to know, we'll probably be going through an outside source right now when we do our merch. So just be a little bit patient with us. I don't think any of us want to buy bulk of one single shirt and try to store that between coast to coast. So yeah, we'll be at a fulfillment place, and so shipping might be a little bit delayed, but we will have some merch here soon. And yeah,
go check it out.
Tell your friends. And we do have our episode will be live. It is live streamed with Stadium Scene TV on Thursday. So we'll do our best to try to remind you guys to tune in there too. Yeah.
All right. Go support your local ECHL team affiliate if you have one. Go give them some love.
Watch women's hockey.
And watch women's hockey.
And check out our website, houseofhockeypod.com.
Thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.